Hi guys, it's ASMR October. Welcome back to my channel. So, I am going to be doing a soft-spoken true crime tonight because, unbeknownst to you, I've actually done 2 other videos tonight, but then I went and showered and put on my pajamas, so I'm in a different outfit. This video is going up 1 to 2 weeks after the other videos, so I know you might be like, questionable, but I promise you that I am whispered out. But I really wanted to get this 3rd video out. It sounds really weird to say that, that I'm excited to do this video. Excited is probably not the right word, but this case was suggested to me by one of you guys. I'm so sorry that I don't remember who it is off the top of my head and I didn't write it down. And that person also brought up the show on Hulu, the short series Under the Bridge. And after that person brought it up, and this was months ago already, I started seeing people talking about it on Facebook, and I watched it. Guys, it is so intense, but so good if you like true crime series. So I'm finally getting around to doing the case. It is horrific and sad, but I just think it's so important to share the story. And if you haven't seen the series on Hulu, I would absolutely recommend that you check it out, because just even from a storytelling perspective, it's like really intense. And I think sometimes shows about like young kids, but like they're in high school, like it's hard to make kids look evil, for lack of a better word. Like, it's just hard. I think we always want to like assume, that kids have an air of innocence to them, and like this video just really, like, you feel bad for like some of the bad guys, and like it's just the series is really well done. I don't know if I could read the book. That's like not my kind of thing. Like, I like to read traditionally more lighthearted things, but anyway, if you're listening to this and like it sounds interesting, so to speak, in the way that true crime can be, I would say if you haven't seen the series, it's so much worth. What am I saying? It is so worth it to watch. I forgot how many episodes, but it's not like a long series. And you also get different perspectives, which is really interesting. It's based on the book by, I think it's Rebecca Godfrey, if I'm not mistaken, who was a reporter in the town at the time that this happened. Before I get started, as always, this is about the vicious beating of a child and killing of a child. Bullying is discussed. It's a lot of hard topics, and it's a very sad story. So if that's not something that you can handle right now, that is absolutely okay. But now would be the time to click off this video and check out any of my other videos or any of the other amazing ASMR artists on YouTube. So now I'm going to get into the case of Reena Virk. On November 14th, 1997, Reena Virk was part of a large group of teens who gathered, as they often did on Friday nights. After police arrived, to socialize. So what they did on Friday nights, they socialized and partied on a field behind Shoreline School in View Royal, which is in Canada. After police arrived, the group moved to Craig Flower Bridge. suddenly broke out under the bridge. One girl, the subject of rumors allegedly spread by Reena Virk, put out a burning cigarette on her forehead. Virk was then swarmed by a group of 7 girls and 1 boy, all 16 years old or younger, who repeatedly punched and kicked her. Virk cried out, "I'm sorry," as she absorbed the blows and lay bleeding on the muddy ground underneath the bridge. Many in the crowd dispersed once the fighting started, while others watched as the 18s carried out the assault. So one of the things I wanted to mention is kind of how we get here. Like, how do we get to the bridge? Because the show actually starts before that. So I'm going to switch to another article that was actually written by Rebecca Godfrey to give you some background. So, okay. So, in the months before the murder, Kelly Ellard, I think her name is, Kelly Ellard, sorry, and Reena Virk were in the throes of an intense relationship with a blonde, delicate girl named Josephine Bell. That's not her real name. Her name was not included, I guess, because of her age, but that's also the name they use on the show. Of the girls, Josephine was the more charismatic, confident one. They shared an unsentimental interest in gangster rap, serial killers, and ruthless men like the former mafia boss John Gotti. Josephine boasted of stealing cars and dating Crips, and she dreamed of one day moving to New York and joining the mob. "I will become the first female hitman," Josephine said to another boy, Colin Jones, who she thought was cute, but a twisted little troublemaker. In her locker, Kelly kept her best friend Josephine's sketches in her school books, gangster shooting cops, line drawings of disembodied heads and severed hands. So in the autumn of 1997, Josephine and Kelly turned vengeful. It almost seemed that their fantasies of violence could at last turn real, and that they could assert themselves as tough and not to be messed with. Their unfortunate target was Reena Virk, the 14-year-old South Asian girl with broad shoulders and uneasy eyes. She chafed against the rules of her home. Her parents were Jehovah's Witnesses, and she admired the carefree swagger and freedom of Josephine. She painted her nails blue and listened to the Notorious B.I.G. and Puff Daddy in her uncle's car. She was vulnerable and tender and daring, but one day she took Josephine's notebook and called some boys in it, telling them that Josephine wasn't as beautiful as she thought, that she had AIDS, and that her eyebrows were fake. This act of mischief enraged Josephine. She hatched a plan for revenge, calling girls on the Songhees Reserve, telling them to meet her at Shoreline School on Friday for a beatdown. A few days before the murder, her mother overheard her on the phone with Kelly talking about digging a grave and burying a girl. The plan was messy and cocaine, I don't know what that means, and seemed like all the girls' violence thus far more just a desire than an actual threat. On that November evening, a Friday night, a Russian satellite broke apart in the sky. 50 or 60 teenagers had gathered on the field behind Shoreline, as they had every Friday. On those nights, all the cliques would mingle. The skater boys, the pretty girls, the boys who threw up gang signs and wore baggy pants and poured their parents' rum into 7-Eleven Slurpees. Nearly all of them were unaware of Kelly and Josephine's plan. Most of them had not even met Reena before and had no idea of her peril, so they just hung out on the field and watched the sudden beautiful lights in the sky, wondering if the shimmers were stars or UFOs. So now I'll get into kind of like the specifics of the fight. So Josephine put a lit cigarette out on Reena's forehead, and then Reena cried out, then swung at her, and then Kelly punched her with a closed fist. Then other girls joined the fight, and so did a boy named Warren Glowatsky. Most of the teenagers ran away. They were horrified to see their friends being so savage. Then one girl finally told them to stop, and like everyone dispersed. Some people saw Reena in the mud, just bleeding and crying, but no one offered to help. Then some saw her later. She got up and she kind of like staggered onto the bridge to get home. But she never returned home. And 8 days later, police divers would retrieve her body, badly bruised, from the cold, dark waters. Let me just go back here. Okay. So, after the attack, as Virk staggered across the bridge, she was then attacked again by two of the original assailants, Kelly Eddard, at the time 15, and Warren Glowatsky, 16. She was punched again, and her head was smashed against a tree. She was then dragged unconscious into the gorge waterway and drowned. Virk's parents reported her missing, but her half-naked body was not discovered until 8 days later. A coroner's autopsy reported extensive damage to Virk's body, including multiple blows and bruising to her head and abdomen. The report said that Virk would most likely have died from her injuries if she hadn't been drowned. So, just to kind of like throw in some of the information from the show. So like, I don't know if this part from the show is real or not, but like Josephine, and then there's this other girl who's not mentioned in this article, so I don't know if she's like made up just for the show. But it's Josephine, Kelly, this other girl from the show, and then Reena. And Josephine and the other girl, I keep forgetting her name, they live in like, I don't know, it's like a home for like teenage girls that like don't have a place to go. I don't really know. And like in the show, the author like is friends with, I don't want to go into too much detail because it like throws some stuff out. Never mind, I'm not gonna say it, but like there's connections to this place, so I have a feeling some of that was probably done for the show. But I don't know if Josephine like didn't come from as tough a situation as the show makes it out to be, because like in the show you kind of almost feel bad for Josephine at some points, but she's such a bitch that you're like, ugh, it's really hard to feel bad for her. It's also like, you just think about like how bad teenagers are. No offense to teenagers, but like they're pretty bad. So you just think about like, this is like the worst of the worst. So anyway, in February 1998, 6 girls who took part in the initial attack on Virk were prosecuted in youth court with their identities protected from publication. 3 of the girls pleaded guilty to assault causing bodily harm, and 3 others were convicted of the same at trial. Kelly Ellard and Warren Glowatsky were charged with Reena's murder, and despite their ages, they were tried in adult court due to the extreme nature of the crime. Sorry for all that noise. 16-year-old Glowatsky had grown up in difficult circumstances. His alcoholic mother had been absent for much of his life. At the time of the killing, he had been living at a friend's house after his father had left British Columbia without him to live in California. In June 1999, he was convicted by a judge of second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. His appeal of that conviction was dismissed in 2001. So again, like, what he did was horrible, but like what you see in the show is like you learn about his background, and he's like homeless and like really sad, and like he just has like one little duffel bag of all his stuff, and he's like begging people to stay with them, and then like he's living in like a warehouse with these like, where these like gang members come to like hang out, and like he like joins the Crips, and like it's this whole thing. And like, of course what he did was inexcusable, but like he's such a sad soul that you're like, could he have been like, could this have been avoided, you know, like if his life was different? And the other thing is like, again, not an excuse, but he's like super drunk because like, this is the show, I don't know how much of this is real, but like, he finds out like he's getting evicted from like his trailer park that he was living with his dad, who like the article said had left, and the dad's like, yeah, just like take what you want, and like they're coming to take the house, like just like doesn't even care about his kid, and like his mom's an alcoholic, so it's like really fucking sad. So he's like drinking his sorrows away, and he's like wasted by the time like he goes to meet all the kids at the shoreline. So again, like I'm not making excuses, and like I've never been drunk enough where I was like, yeah, I could definitely commit murder right now, but like you just think about someone like this as a kid and he's so down and out, and like it's just like you actually feel like torn because you feel bad for him. So Ellard, on the other hand, came from a more stable traditional family that was there to support her at trial. A jury found her guilty of second-degree murder in 2000, but the conviction was overturned on technical legal grounds by the Supreme Court of Canada. A second trial in 2004, at which Ellard insisted on her innocence and declared, "I am not a monster," resulted in a deadlocked jury and a mistrial. Ellard was convicted again by a jury at a third trial in 2005. The conviction was upheld on appeal to the Supreme Court, and Ellard received a life sentence. In prison, Warren Glowatsky took responsibility for his crime. He discovered his Métis heritage, and it's a Native American tribe, and participated in restorative justice programs, including indigenous healing circles aiming to reconcile offenders and victims. At one session, he met Reena Virk's parents and apologized to them for his actions, explaining that he had no particular motive at the time of the attack. Amid tears, Glowatsky and the Virks exchanged hugs. After years of grief, the Virks chose to forgive many of the people who had killed their daughters, telling the Globe and Mail that although it wasn't easy, forgiveness allowed them to let go of their anger. I think the most important reason why we've forgiven Warren is so we could just put this whole matter aside and for our own healing and sense of wholeness, Suman Virk said. That's her mother. Glowatsky's parole application was supported by the Virks, and he was fully paroled in 2010. In contrast, Kelly Eddard spent her early years in prison repeating her claims of innocence while also taking illegal drugs and breaking penitentiary rules. She eventually changed her name to Carrie Sim, and by 2016 had given birth to a child conceived during a conjugal visit with her new boyfriend, an ex-convict. By 2020, then in her late 30s, Ellard had a second child with the same partner and was receiving day parole as part of a program to reintegrate her into the community. Now, I saw an article somewhere, maybe I can find it again, where that bitch, Kelly, is like complaining that like the new show, the new thing, like the series was like making her not look bad, but like she was saying like, oh, it's like bringing new attention to her, and like then she was saying like, oh, the family is traumatizing, but bitch, killing her was traumatizing for them. Like, fuck you. I just wanted to see something. So like, anyway, like the show makes her look so fucking evil that like you hate her. Like the girl who plays her does such a good job. I mean, just the fact that like she went on for so long, like not learning her fucking lesson and showing remorse, shows that like the real person fucking sucks too. But like I'm just trying to see, because there was a thing about her, and I was just trying. So the judge had said to her, so she was released on, this is Kelly now, I just wanted to focus on her for a second. So She was released on day parole in 2018, but then brought back in front of the parole board for domestic violence and a positive urine test for codeine. So then she was arrested again in 2021 because of deterioration in behavior, whatever that means. So the parole documents say that Sim is considered a high moderate risk for future violence over the long term and a relatively low risk over the short term. Your risk would be on the higher end should you abuse substances or associate with negative individuals. The judge who sentenced her in 2005 seemed to presage the problems that have followed her to this day. You alone, he said, are responsible for your situation, and until you reach this elementary conclusion, you will never grow. You will not rehabilitate. You will be forever stalled in this nightmare which you have created. So, like, she just seems like a fucked up person, and like now evidently she's living in a community-based residential facility in the lower mainland where she's struggling to cope with life on a limited budget and a lack of childcare options. You have also expressed frustration and anxiety about your situation, the parole documents say. Blamed your inability to move forward on the requirement to reside at the community-based residential facility, the high cost of living, parenting struggles as a single mother, and your ex-spouse abandoning you and your children. So, like, she's just, like, not taking accountability for anything in her life. They ultimately decided to extend her parole for another 6 months. And I don't know, like, what happened after that, but, like, I just fucking hate that girl. Like, she's, like, some people, in my opinion, are just cancers to society, and she is one of those people, and now she has brought life into this world, which, like, shouldn't be fucking allowed, but, like, that's another story for another day. She's clearly not accountable, and I have nothing nice to say about that person. I don't feel bad for her. I don't wish her well. Nothing. She's a sick, terrible person. I wish they would take her kids from her. I wish they would just let her rot somewhere. I don't know why they would let someone so fucking evil back out on the street. Or, like, kill someone for no fucking reason. But, like, whatever. Anyway, I just get so furious. So, Manjeet and Suman Virk. So, Manjeet is the dad, and Suman is the mom. Channeled their grief over Reena's murder into a public awareness campaign against bullying and teenage violence. They successfully pushed the British Columbia government to enact a series of anti-bullying programs in schools, and they spoke about bullying in public meetings attended by thousands of children, teachers, and law enforcement officials. Since then, bullying has become a national topic of conversation. In 2009, the Virks were honored with British Columbia's Anthony J. Holney Award of Distinction for their contributions to crime prevention and community safety. Suman Virk died on June 16, 2018, aged 58, following a choking accident while eating in a Victoria cafe. Oh, that's depressing. The one thing that, like, you don't really hear much about here, I'm just trying to see if they talk about it in one of the other articles. The thing is, like, there's also a lot of history in terms of, like, Reena and her family and, like, stuff that happened, but, like, some of it, I just feel like this is the basis of the case. Like, the stuff I told you, like, that's the case, but there's a lot of other things, like, other components, just to, like, give you background about Reena and the girls and Warren. And I really feel like if you like true crime, I mean, obviously, if you've listened up to this point, like, unless you're a crazy person, you should absolutely watch the series and just, like, and if you have watched the series, please comment, because, like, I could totally have a discussion. It's just, like, one of those things that, like, sticks with you, like, and I know I'm so behind, like, this has been out for a long time, but I'm just getting around to doing the video. But yeah, it's really sad. You know, I would say for any, like, young people who might watch this channel who either are dealing with bullying or who may be engaging in bullying, like, 9 times out of 10, unless you're evil, bullying is coming out of a place of almost like self-defense and trying to like protect yourself, or, you know, hide behind insecurities, and or hide your insecurities rather. And I encourage you to like move away from that, channel your energy into something else, be positive, find ways to bring people together. I feel so bad for people growing up now, because I think about how bad it was then, like when this happened. I was young then, and like even when I was in high school, like I was the victim of bullying. But like with social media and stuff now, the things that can be done are so scary and horrific that I just pray that kids can find ways to do good with all that's available, and that we can teach our kids to be good. It's just such a scary world. So parents who watch me, please instill good values in your kids. Teach them to be kind. And kids that watch me, teach each other to be kind. Role model good behavior. Don't bully each other. We need to support each other. And if someone's bullying you, stay strong. Channel your energy into other things. Try to focus on the good in your life. And if it's really getting bad, I know it's like really intimidating to have to escalate and tell someone, but you gotta protect yourself at all costs. You know, be careful about who you trust, things like that. So, I mean, not that I'm in any position to like preach this advice, but I just feel like, why not say it? I don't know what else to say after talking about something like this, so it always feels weird saying it. But if you liked this video, like it, comment if you watched the series what your thoughts were, and if you are not already subscribed, please subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Alright.